Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look here at Sandbox and touch briefly as well on an announcement I believe that is causing the price action to recover, at least remotely. If you compare it with Bitcoin, it's definitely a tremendous increase, but on the same accord, it's not pivotal. So anyways, just want to kind of throw it out there and let you know. If you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade. Hope you can learn something here today. My goal is to help you become a better trader. So, if at all possible, you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a website, link in the description below. Take the power back and actually learn from everything you're seeing here more hands-on. Okay, I have a trading academy community as well as a signal group where I send out signals for every single trade that I take, and we've been making a killing on a lot of short positions here recently. I do think it's going to turn around, of course, based on Bitcoin's behavior, but generally speaking, that's where we're at for the moment. I do also offer discounts for third world countries and military as well. Thank you so much for your service. Feel free to message me direct. Only use the contact information below. I will never solicit you or direct message you. All right. Taking a look here at Sandbox, first thing to touch on before we jump into the charts is this article that was sent out through Twitter. Basically states that the KEB Hana Bank is entering Sandbox, into the leads financial services in the metaverse. So, what that means, really, it's not, it's quite straightforward, but generally speaking, that is something that's causing the price action to probably increase here. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that so you understand, because obviously this doesn't mean a lot yet, but it's one of those, buy the rumor, sell the news kind of situations. Right now, this is the rumor, and the news will come to fruition eventually. Right? That's generally how it works when it translates onto your charts. And what I mean by that here is if we take a look at the daily, we can see that we are right at both the 50 and the 20-day SIP moving average right now for Sandbox. So nice amount of support there as well as previous support level at about 108. So we got some decent support here between 108 and 113. Preferably we're going to close above those two here today, but if not, we'll see essentially if the shorter term frame or shorter term time frame will tell us anything different. But for right now, the daily does look decent in that regard because we're still establishing or still, continuing to make higher lows. All right, so again, this low is higher than the previous, and that's a good sign. That's typically a positive sign, okay? Furthermore, we're staying above 50 on the RSI, so we can close out today at 113 or higher. We'll be above 50 on the RSI and preferably continue to progress higher. It's usually a common characteristic. The only thing that's a little bit concerning is that we do have a MACD potential divergence forming, which would make sense considering the fact that, after two weeks of continuous momentous push to the upside, it would need to correct itself. That's essentially what it's telling us, and we're losing that bullish momentum, obviously with the last 4 or 5 trading days being almost, pretty much red. All right, so again, just something to acknowledge and understand. Taking a look here at the 4-hour, we can see we're above the 200 but below the 50 and the 20. So again, we're kind of in this little support and resistance channel where the price action will likely continue to go sideways for some time. But if we can see here, and you compare this with Bitcoin, Bitcoin has basically 4 or 5 red candles in the last 20 hours. You can see Sandbox is starting to recover. Okay, so that's a sign there that there's a little bit of, I guess you could say rumors, so to speak, or whatever the case is. Again, that's just a generic term that you use. Obviously, the article I showed you isn't necessarily a rumor, but it is definitely speculation and just kind of forward thinking, right? They're kind of getting that information out there. Prices tend to increase when those things happen, and they tend to decrease once those things have already occurred. Okay, so just kind of be mindful of that. Whenever this information is official, we might see a sell-off because of it. Kind of a standard thing, but regardless, that does influence here, of course, because again, if you compare this with Bitcoin, which just to kind of show you, we have pretty much been drawing dead the last 20 hours, whereas Sandbox is doing much better. And I believe it's probably because of that article. So just kind of throwing it out there again, no guarantees, of course, but those fundamental catalysts do have a way of shifting momentum. So let's take a look at overextension and see if there is an opportunity here for us to turn around and recover. Well, we can see we hit a 9 on TD sequential. We got really overextended here to the downside, and we're starting to recover. We're at a 1 right now. So there is potential of 8 more 4-hour candlesticks worth of continuation to the upside. Okay, so again, that could very well happen. We could see 32 more hours of continuation upwards. Again, we're expecting something similar from Bitcoin because we did hit a 9 here recently as well on the 4-hour for Bitcoin. So in truth, Sandbox is following Bitcoin fairly synonymous, but the last 12 hours are much different than Bitcoin's last 12 hours. Okay, So Sandbox in general per capita is doing better than most average altcoins are doing right now comparative to Bitcoin. All right, so again, that's likely, again, a fundamental catalyst, but still relevant nonetheless. We saw we came down to 30 as well, bounced off of that, and we're trending up towards 50. So in all reality, taking a position now, a Sandbox could and likely should be a viable potential benefit. In other words, the price action should increase from here based on that sentiment. We bounced off 30. We are having a potential MACD convergence. Of course, this is a little ways off, but this is definitely something that we could see happen. So mostly good stuff here on the 4 hour. I like this. I like the 4 hour time frame a lot here so far. We can also see we've hit multiple 9s on TD sequential to the downside. So when you see more than 2, specifically more than 2 9s on TD sequential in a row, you can tell you're hitting this over-exhaustive state where the price action has to recover from there. Now I'm not saying the Sandbox is going to just shoot off and take off, but it definitely looks more likely that it's going to increase than it would decrease. Okay. Again, just based on overextension, we've got 3 9s in a row on the hourly, and then 1 4 hour candlestick telling us we're also pushing to the downside. So again, this next recovery may not be super impactful. It may actually come up here and reject off this Fibonacci retracement level 120. A good profit target, by the way, would be just somewhere in the range of 118 to 121, just below that key level resistance, which we can see held the price action in place for some time. All right, so again, just some things to kind of recognize. Taking a look at the cloud though, this is good in some ways. The conversion line is getting close here, or no, correction, the lagging span is getting close. The conversion line is trying to break above the baseline, which is good. We want that as well. So we don't have any confirmation here that Sandbox is a viable option to take a trade as far as the cloud is concerned, but overextension tells us otherwise. So with all the overextension to the downside, I think there is a likelihood Sandbox will continue to recover and potentially retest at least the first lower lead on the cloud, as well as potentially the next lead as well. Okay, so again, a lot of good stuff is happening here for Sandbox. While we don't have full-on confirmation from the cloud, there's a lot of other things kind of telling us that we shouldn't expect further, much further downside for the moment. Obviously, we lose this support level here right around 105. Different story. We'll have to have a different conversation. But we can see the price wick down to a previous support level, and it's holding above that Fibonacci retracement of 111. So I'd say a candlestick close today at 111 or higher would be positive. Ultimately, I do feel like we're going to see a retest of 122 from Sandbox in the relative near future. Again, a lot of this is based on me believing, based on the technical analysis so far for Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is going to continue to progress upwards from here. It's not going to go phenomenally large in price. In fact, you probably want to check that video out so you understand what I'm saying. But generally speaking, there's a probability, I think, of 23 to 24,000 for Bitcoin in the relative near future, as long as it can continue to establish higher highs and higher lows, which it's doing right now. Sandbox is also following a very similar suit. Higher lows and higher highs are important, okay? Now, granted, this is not necessarily a higher high, it's almost parallel, but it is important to understand that it's absolutely a positive sign, and we want to celebrate that, okay? So again, mostly good stuff here from Sandbox. I like what I see, and I think we're going to probably see at least a slight recovery. It may not be super impactful, but it'll definitely be something. All right, so that's pretty much all I have here for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned as much as you possibly could. If you want to learn more, of course, become a better trader, improve your risk management and risk tolerance, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. We've got a lot of new members joining based on the fact that they're trying to learn as much as they can during this time frame. This is the best time to be a trader, honestly, because when the price action is really low and it seems like it's dire straits, it's the best time to learn to know how to recover, because your second bull run will make you a lot more money than your first. It's just the bottom line here. Okay, so again, check that out in your own time. I also send out signals for every single trade that I take. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.